I'm here with Mudar Zahran, a leader of the Palestinian Jordanian community. Mudar, what can you tell me about your reasons for supporting this initiative as a Palestinian?
Well, it's simply, first of all, I'm a Jordanian Palestinian. I think we've come to realities with the Arab Spring, and we see true signs that the King of Jordan has fallen. And therefore, the minute he falls, we will end up with most likely a Jordanian Palestinian president power, which pops up the question, what kind of Jordan we're going to end up with? It's either that we're going to end up with the seculars winning if they get the proper support, and then all of our dreams would come true in the state and even more, or we're going to end up with Hamasstein if the Hamas win. Keep in mind, Khalid Mish'al is a Jordanian citizen. So it's an issue with threat. People are arguing about whether Jordan should become Palestine. My argument is we're afraid that Jordan would become Hamasstein, not Palestine. It's a crushing time, and there's a lot of pressure and very, very limited time ahead of us. So I'm here to represent my people's interest and make sure that we end up with happy endings for both sides involved.
So you mentioned how supporting an initiative to allow for a secular democratic Palestinian state in Jordan would be very much within the interest of the region, within the interest of, for example, Western states and, of course, Israel, to prevent a Hamas or Muslim Brotherhood type state emerging there. But could you explain a little bit more about why you see this also as being very good for the Palestinian people themselves?
Well, because we've seen what if the Muslim Brotherhood and Hamas win, we've seen what they've done in Gaza, we've seen what they've done in Egypt recently. So if the Palestinians and the Jordanians alike, like the Bedouin native East Bank Jordanians, they're both my people, both my brothers and sisters. If they want to choose to go that way, or if the West allows us to slide in that way, that would be extremely harmful, stupid, and dangerous. Egypt is not like Jordan. Egypt is surrounded by Libya, where there's the NATO and Western forces, the sea, Mediterranean, Israel, and then Sudan, which is a failure state of a failure. While in Jordan, we're surrounded by rich oil countries, and we border Israel's longest front. Therefore, much is in stake here, and the tide is very high.
And just one last thing, what would you say to those Israeli leaders who are pursuing talks currently with the Palestinian Authority along the basis of something which is very different, obviously, from what we've been discussing today?
I think we've tried this path for the last, say, 70 years. There's been talks even before Israel became independent. And I think it's about time we all stop wasting time, energy, and it's not only time and blood of both Palestinians and Israelis involved in the so-called conflict. This is an unforgivable waste of time and energy. And I call in the United States, particularly Secretary Kerry, within my own capacity as a political leader, that he should think otherwise and consider alternative options and maybe focus in Syria alone.
I'm going to ask you on a personal note, how have you enjoyed your visit here to Israel?
Well, just like the way that most Palestinians in this country enjoy it, freedom of speech. I can criticize Israel from this podium, while I definitely cannot criticize anything in Jordan, which is my country. So freedom is beautiful. Not that I'm in love with Israel or agree with everything Israel does, but on the other hand, I can only dream someday my country will be like Israel.
Thank you very much, Mudar.
Assalamu alaikum. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, in the name of God, the merciful, the most merciful. When we talk about the situation we ended up with 7 years on, it's possibly the best to go back to the history and the legality of the situation. This whole thing started when the Arabs were under Ottoman occupation and Palestine was under Ottoman occupation, and we agreed, represented by the Faisal-Weizmann Agreement, which everyone knows, that we will take 77% of Palestine, which was dedicated as a Jewish homeland according to international law. This is the law. If we are to give up an international law, if you break the law, if you drive without a license, if you drink and drive, or if you beat your wife or girlfriend, you're going to end up in trouble. This is what we, both Arabs and Jews, have ended up with. We broke the law, the contract binding Jewish and Palestinian existence in the area. Jews could have had all of Palestine, the British mandate of Palestine, the agreement which the Hashemite rulers of Jordan, who are alien to the land, they came from Arabia. Those people agreed to make Jordan, the so-called Jordan, my country, a homeland for the Arabs of the land. We got 77%, you barely got 22%. This is one of the very few occasions we outsmarted the Jews. Nonetheless, the Hashemites have not kept in the promise. 1948, they occupied the land, and on top of that, they announced us as refugees. The first time, 1948. Then, when we make the shift from Judea and Samaria or the West Bank back to our country, they announced us refugees again. And now, after 46 years, we are still, according to the UNHCR, being called refugees. Jordan is an ultimate apartheid state run by kings who speak perfect English and dress from Armani. Imagine that a Palestinian in Judea and Samaria and Gaza has more rights, a Palestinian in Gaza, a Hamas member in Gaza, has more rights to Israel than I have to my country, Jordan. Under this new king, who does not realize that he's only king because Israel allowed him to be, and his father, under him, we're not allowed the driver's license. If I go to renew my driver's license, the first question when you fill any application in Jordan is, Il Balad al-Asli, where's your homeland? Where did you come from? And if you say Amman, they say, no, where was your grandfather born? They always keep dedicating and dictating that you are a refugee and someday you're going back to Palestine. And so does the Jordanian-controlled media. And any Palestinian who approaches Israel friendly, or actually a Jordanian, I am a Jordanian after all, any Jordanian, be it a native, Bedouin, or a Palestinian who approaches Israel friendly ends up in trouble. They want to keep the state of enemyhood with Israel. And they want the Palestinians to always think, God, we're going to go back someday. That being the case, there has been an investment and creation of a case of refugeehood. Generations. In 2313, there's going to be my great-great-great-grandson who is also a Palestinian refugee. Ridiculous.